The Gospel, according to St. Mark, chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. When Jesus had crossed again in the boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him, and he stayed close to the sea. One of the synagogue officials, named Jairus, came forward. Seeing Jesus, he fell at his feet and pleaded earnestly with him, saying, "My daughter is at the point of death. Please, come lay your hands on her, that she may get well and live." Jesus went off with him, and a large crowd followed him and pressed upon him. While he was still speaking, people from the synagogue official's house arrived and said, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher any longer?" Disregarding the message that was reported, Jesus said to the synagogue official, "Do not be afraid. Just have faith." He did not allow anyone to accompany him inside except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they arrived at the house of the synagogue official, he caught sight of a commotion, people weeping and wailing loudly. So he went in and said to them, "Why this commotion and weeping? The child is not dead, but asleep." And they ridiculed him. Then he put them all out. He took along the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and entered the room where the child was. He took the child by the hand and said to her, "Talitha koum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." The girl, a child of 12, arose immediately and walked around. At that they were utterly astounded. He gave strict orders that no one should know this, and said that she should be given something to eat. A rather interesting gospel, to say the least, and once again it shows us the power of faith. There are things we can learn from the different people that appear in this gospel. First of all, the father of that little girl, 12 years old, who was close to death, at least when the father, his name was Jairus, when he left the house and went to Jesus. He went to Jesus, and he went with humility and faith. He fell at his feet, Jesus' feet, and he pleaded earnestly with Jesus, "Please, please, just come down. My daughter's at the point of death." Well, you can imagine the way that father prayed for Jesus' healing. And he had that belief. And with that belief and faith, he had hope that the girl could be saved if Jesus came down and healed her. And that Jesus did have the power to heal her. And he had humility, this official. So we learn, first of all, from Jairus himself, the meaning of humble faith and hope. The next thing that comes to mind is the response of Jesus. Jesus is personally interested in each one of us. Each person is important to Jesus. He came as Savior of mankind, of everybody. But everybody was and is important to Jesus. And so this father, who is asking for a miracle, you might say, was the center of Jesus' attention. And he responded. He immediately went down with that official synagogue official. And I guess a lot of people followed just to see what was going to happen. They were inquisitive. And so they tagged along. But then he said, nobody comes. I just take these few disciples of mine, Peter, James, and John, and that's it. And then he went down, and on the way down, he was informed by the other synagogue officials that the child died. And so they were having a funeral for the child when Jesus arrived. But he says, and Jesus knew what he was going to do. That's why he said it. The child is not dead. She's only sleeping. And they ridiculed him. They laughed at him. It happens in our day today. So many people laugh at what the church teaches, what Jesus teaches through the church. They think it's old-fashioned, and they ridicule and persecute Christians or the church. But they're the losers. Jesus went down and he just took his father, the father, and the mother. That's interesting, isn't it? He could have just laid hands on that girl and healed her by himself. But he wanted the father and the mother to be there, and also his disciples, those three. And then he says, little girl, I say to you, arise. And she opens her eyes and she gets up and she starts walking around. Well, that was a happy ending. It was an astounding ending. And people couldn't believe what they were seeing. That the little girl is healthy and well and alive, and Jesus says, give her something to eat. So, a very practical thing to say. Maybe the child was still a little weak. In any case, it was a happy ending. And the gospel teaches us something. We need that humble faith that Jairus had to go to Jesus and to ask for healing. We all need healing, either psychological, spiritual, or physical. But everybody and families need healing. Communities, church needs healing. We're all in need of healing, and Jesus is the great healer. So, in all humility, faith, and hope, we want to go to Jesus and ask for healing of body and soul.